Welcome to the Unstuck Career Podcast with your host, Ken Williams. Each week, we move along your path to possibility so you can finally have the life you want. Let's learn how to deal with people you never wanted to be friends with together so you can become unstuck and unstoppable in your career and life. And welcome back to another episode of the Unstuck Career Podcast. I am your host, Ken Williams, as always, and I have with me a guest. This is Stephanie O'Brien, who is going to talk about something that I think is valuable, especially, I don't know if you've noticed, but the world is different today than it was a year ago, or 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, or beyond that. And so Stephanie's going to talk to us about what do you do if you're not where you think you should be or want to be, especially as it relates to traditional employment. So welcome to the podcast, Stephanie.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm looking forward to this.
I'm excited because I talk to people on a regular basis who are only able to believe that traditional employment is their option. And what I'm hearing from you, not yet, but no, as we talked a little bit before, is that it's not. So how do we know if traditional employment, by the way, as I was growing up, and I think this is probably not unique, but the story that I was told is that the safe way to live life is to get a job, go work for somebody else. And with this new administration, I'm not sure that anything's really safe anymore.
No, they're kind of taking a chainsaw to a lot of people's jobs.
Yes. And that's terrifying. It's for many people, it's painful. So if somebody's in a situation where they are maybe not necessarily directly affected, but they can see that they could be directly affected, and really there's no such thing as a safe W-2 employee, what advice would you give?
From where I specialize in is helping people to share their expertise with others and get paid for it. So I encourage you to look at, what kind of expertise do you have that could help people? And here are some questions that you could use to kind of get your brain juices flowing on that. What problems have you solved for yourself or others? For example, let's say that you were chronically attracting toxic relationship partners. Have you learned how to stop attracting those partners and attract someone more positive? Do you know how to navigate unemployment or being laid off and find a better job in the aftermath? You've got a huge target audience for that now.
Sure, yeah.
And do you know how to heal a certain ailment in yourself? Of course, you got to be careful what claims you can legally make, but do you know how to do this? So, what's a problem you've solved for yourself, or what's an outcome that you've gotten for yourself that other people want? Like, you've found the partner of your dreams, and this person's loving, sexy, supportive, understands you and your career, helps you reach your goals. What are some positive outcomes that you've created that you hear other people wanting to create, but they don't know how to? Especially good if they already come to you for advice about that in an unofficial capacity, because then you're already known as the expert there. Another is there a challenging experience that you know how to navigate more smoothly and easily that other people might be going through a lot more roughly? Like if you know how to navigate divorce without traumatizing kids, or one person I know, she knows how to navigate the cancer journey, the experience of being diagnosed, of going through the battle with cancer, of eventually coming out the other end, and all the trauma that inflicts, and how to deal with that and come out healthier and happier out the other end. Yeah, those are three questions. What problem do I solve for others? What solution or what outcome can I help them get? Or what negative experience can I help them to navigate more easily? If you can help people with any of those things, then there's a very real possibility that you could turn your expertise into a coaching program, or a coaching or a training program, and sell your expertise, and thus not be so dependent on a job or an administration to provide your employment for you. Even if it's just a side hustle, it can add some security and a cushion for while you're navigating to a new job.
Right. And what I hear you saying is that this doesn't have to be something that you went to school for. It doesn't have to be what your degree's in. It could be, and this is one of the things that I think is is potentially powerful because the 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 things that you're good at m- might be things that you don't recognize how good you are at because, well, it's just can't everybody cook or can't everybody quilt or can't everybody make friends easily? Can't everybody build a business network? Can't everybody stay married for 35 years or whatever it is? And so what I hear you saying, what it sounds like you're saying is it doesn't have to be like a next step in your career. It could be anything at all that you're uh, knowledgeable about, regardless of your education, quote unquote, or your schooling.
Yeah, and sometimes having that personal experience can be more valuable than a formal education because personal experience gives you a nuanced insight into the experience that an education alone won't do. It's why white people who have studied racism are still not going to be as knowledgeable on it as a black person who's lived on the receiving end every day. There are little
Right.
nuances to it, experiences that a person who hasn't lived it just won't have.
Yeah. So if you have somebody, let's suppose somebody comes to you and they want to, well, we'll give a hypothetical. I was talking to somebody a week or so ago who, because of her job, not directly affected by the sweeping cuts that the Trump administration is instituting, but there's the possibility that there could be some downstream effect. And so somebody like that who sees that there may be some reason that she wants to pursue something like this. And how would somebody like that come up with things that they're good at? Because as I've talked to people, we're so blind to ourselves. How, how can we bust out of that myopia? There's my college word for today.
So basically, the belief that your knowledge can only be applied in your current capacity and can't really be transferred out.
Yeah,
Um, and one of the ways you can deal with that is to look at what is the actual problem that your expertise is solving. Is it that you're helping businesses have more cash flow? Well, can you help other people have more cash flow? Is that you're helping a business to improve its bookkeeping? Can you help other people to improve their bookkeeping and have less pain at tax time?
yeah,
So yeah, look at not so much the role that you're playing as what is the actual problem that the role solves and the outcome that it creates, and who else might need that problem solved or that outcome created. And another is to kind of look at the qualifications that you got in the process. What are the skills that you developed, and how else might those skills be applied?
right. Because if in any role, you're going to have people skills, you're going to have technical skills, you're going to have tactical skills, and anything that's transferable is a possibility. Um, Not to mention hobbies. There are hobbies that we get to be really skilled at. I was talking to somebody a month or so ago who is, and I was thinking about him as we started talking. He loves competitive fishing, and he's in one of those situations where he's thinking his job is not where he wants it to be. And so somebody who loves fishing, loves just the solitude of that experience, would there be something that he could offer in a uh, a coaching or a teaching mentoring program?
Yeah, you could teach people how to fish, the particulars of fishing, how to find the right spots, how to get licensed or get whatever licensing they need to do it legally, how to catch different types of fish, which fish are worth catching for whatever purpose, whether for sport or for eating, etc. Yeah, he could make a course on that, or if he didn't want to go the course or coaching method, maybe he could, if he had the means to do so, do a boat rental type business or a. Well, he was saying he liked the solitude, so a tour guide might not be the best way to do it.
He also
But yeah,
he
those are some.
yeah, and so there are different things. There are things that he could do. He does like to go out with people. He likes the competition. He likes everything about it. So, but yeah, and the reason I bring him up is because he sees it as an expensive hobby. And what I think you're saying is that it could be an expensive hobby, but it could also be an income generator.
Yeah, and then if he likes the competition, maybe he could even kind of create a contest out of it. You use a portion of the money from people who are paying to be part of it as the prize money for whoever catches the biggest fish or whoever catches the most fish, or depending once again on the licensing. I think you might be only allowed to catch so many fish for conservation reasons.
Sure.
But yeah, as long as it's something that people might enjoy participating in or get some benefit out of, explore how you could arrange that. Explore what are the experiences that you had in the process of doing this. What is it that you enjoy about this, and might other people enjoy it, and how can you help people to have that enjoyable experience, especially if they might not know the logistics of how to get into it, or if they maybe don't have time for it. How can you help them to make time, like say by handling a lot of the logistics for them? Oh, they don't have a boat, you can help them. You can loan them your boat or let them ride with you on your boat. They don't know
Right.
how to get their licensing, teach them how to get their licensing. Save them some of the time and mental obstacles that would otherwise stop them from doing that.
Yeah. So over the time that you've worked with people on creating their ability to generate an income with a side hustle with their knowledge or skills, what are some of the more unusual things that people have used to create their coaching programs?
I've seen things ranging from helping people to recover from toxic relationships with narcissists to people making mermaid tails, so they can, or merfolk tails, so they can swim in the water like a mermaid. Yeah, a lot of them I wouldn't say were particularly outlandish, but a lot of them I found did run into the same problems when it came to creating their content.
Yeah, is there a way that you can take somebody you can take somebody I'm thinking just that the experience that I've had, it is so easy to assume that our knowledge is not valuable because it's so close to us. Is there a way to figure out whether the things that we do or the things that we know have a place in the marketplace?
Yeah, I actually have a downloadable PDF that walks people through how to approach people, whether in networking groups or on social media. You want to approach them in a really personalized way. You don't want to be that weirdo who shows up in your inbox. Hey, total stranger, what are your biggest challenges in the area of thing you have absolutely no business asking them about? That is so invasive. That is so creepy and weird. Don't do that.
Right.
Start with talking to them like a human being. Hey, I love that post about your dog. I love that breed of dog. I got a dog like that too. Or I love your post about relationships. I went through an experience like that, or I thought it was really insightful how you said, yes, those specifics really set you apart from the generic spammers who say, hey, I love your profile. What do you do? Okay, yeah, you didn't say anything you liked about my profile, and you wouldn't be
Right.
asking what I did if you'd read it.
Right. Because I'm not hiding what I do.
Yeah, like I lay it out really clearly on my profile. So when people ask, what do you do? I know they didn't read it.
Right.
So yeah, you start interacting with them like a human being, and then once you've earned some of their trust, then you can seg into their area of challenges, and you'll start asking questions that help you understand that. And one thing I like to do is I ask them, "Hey, I'm trying to get a better understanding of what people need in the area of so and so. Would you be willing to get on a 15-minute call so I can ask you a few questions? There's nothing for sale, and do keep that promise. Don't try and sell them on that call." There's nothing for sale. I just need to ask them questions to better understand the situation. And that way you're being very honest about your intentions. You're not like when you start asking salesy questions or questions that lead toward people hinting that they need your help, there's a pretty good chance at this point that they're going to clue in. I know I always do. People are not as subtle as they think. So
Right.
just be honest about your intentions. And if you've taken that time to build a relationship, to build trust, to offer support, then there's a fairly good chance that you're going to get a yes. And I suggest having a Calendly or something like that where they can easily just pick a time that works for them. I find that really streamlines things. And yeah, in that PDF I mentioned, it's actually got a list of questions you can use to help people better understand, better help them convey what it is that they need. Why do they need it? Why is it a priority? Why does it have to happen soon? There's a whole list of questions in that PDF.
I like that. And we'll get the link from that or for that in a before the end of the episode. What do you see as common reasons that people don't start finding ways that they can monetize their knowledge and their skills?
A big one is busyness. They just don't really know how to make the time for it. They've got so much else on their plate. It doesn't end up being a priority for them. One thing I recommend to my clients and do in my own business is you take this task and break it down into steps, and then I give each of those steps a chunk of time in my calendar, like
Mm.
1 o'clock to 2 o'clock on Wednesday, 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock on Thursday, and make sure that it's a specific time slot and that every single aspect of the task gets one. You don't want to be in a position where you go to do the task, but oh shoot, there's a prerequisite. I need to do this other thing before I can do this, and then you stall. At
Right.
least, especially if you have a brain type like mine, it's like a thing I trip on and I fall on my face, and this takes me time to get back up. So
Right.
if you find that you're repeatedly running into one of these prerequisites and it's stalling you from doing the thing, put the prerequisite in your calendar as its own to-do list item.
Yeah, I like that. Um,
And another is that they might feel they don't have enough expertise, or it's just taking too much time and effort to take their little bullet list of things they know and actually flesh it out into a program. And if you'd like, I'd be happy to share an exercise that our listeners
mhm.
can use to do that really quickly and easily.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So yeah, this is an exercise that I've used myself and that I teach my clients in order to not only create a lot of content for your coaching program really quickly and easily, but to create a lot of content for your marketing, for your newsletter, for your blog, and to skyrocket your confidence all in one exercise that you can do in under an hour. So for
Oh,
those of you
nice.
listening, I hope you've got your pens and paper or your text processor out, and I'm going to lay it out for you right now. This is really
Take my
good for
notes.
if you and yeah, as Ken was saying earlier, it's so easy for your expertise to start feeling like common knowledge. You forget how rare your knowledge actually is and how many people don't have it. So this is also going to help with that. So your first step is to think of an outcome you can help people create, whether it's to lose weight, to find their soulmate, to build a stronger career, to build a business, whatever the outcome is. Choose an outcome, and it has to be really something really specific and desirable, and then write out all the steps that people would take to do that. You don't have to get really detailed here, but write out a list of the steps they take to do that in preferably in chronological order. Now, I know not everyone can do it in chronological order, especially if it's, say, a mindset thing. Sometimes people just need to pick the activity they need to do when they need to do it, when it's most applicable, the kind of buffet style. But get the list down in as chronological of an order as you can. And so step two in your process is then to take one of those steps and break it down. So let's say, for example, you're a relationship coach, or even if you're not a coach yet, you know how to help people have great relationships, whether romantically with their kids, in business. I'll use the romantic angle as the example here. So if you're helping single men to meet and marry the woman of their dreams, the steps might include figuring out what kind of woman they actually want to date and marry, figuring out where they might be able to meet these kinds of women. So it's not like they would just congregate in this ideal woman
Mhm.
paradise, but so where are they actually likely to be? How to approach her in a way that's welcoming or welcome and friendly instead of pushy, creepy, and off-putting. How to have a conversation, how to decide if you want to have a date with her, how to ask for the first date, how to conduct yourself on that date. So that's an example of steps that you should take. So the next step is to take one of those steps, like figure out what kind of woman you want to be with, and then break that down further. For example, how do they tell what they actually want versus what society wants? Maybe it could be look at the experiences you've had with people that you enjoyed being around. What traits lead them to be willing to have those experiences with you? Are they outdoorsy types? Are they good communicators? Are they really caring and giving? Do they set good boundaries? What kind of lifestyle do you want? Do you want to focus on your career? Do you want to have kids? Do you want to travel? So, write that down so you know what kind of person to look for who wants those same experiences. So those are examples of how you do that second step, which is take one of those broad steps and break it down. Now, the third step is if any of those steps is not 100% self-explanatory, break it down further. If an alien who has never heard of your area of expertise were to get a lesson from you, that alien should be able to follow your instructions. One example I liked was somebody telling a story of a person who wanted to eat a watermelon. They had no familiarity with watermelons, and people were saying, well, "What's wrong with you? Just bite into it." Well, they didn't realize they had to slice it up first.
Right.
So don't be like those people who write technological guidelines online. Oh, just open this tab. Well, how do I get to the menu that has the tab?
Right.
Don't assume they know the first step. Just walk them through every single step of the process. And I strongly advise that you use examples like I'm doing right here.
Mhm.
Teach them the principles behind why it works, especially if it comes when it comes to scripts or communication. You teach them the principles behind it. And because if it feels awkward for them to say it, it's probably going to feel awkward for the recipient to hear it because it's just not natural. It's not them. So teach them the principles behind it so they can put it in their own words without losing effectiveness. Um, do really specific action steps like one book I like, Love for No Reason. It deals mostly in intangibles like mindset, chakra, inner healing, but it always gave really specific actions and exercises, things you could do with your body that let you actually experience what they were talking about and put it into action in a way you could often feel right away. So it has to be extremely actionable. Never tell them what to do without telling them exactly how to do it in a way a 2-year-old could understand. You don't have to be, I don't want you to be condescending, but do be thorough.
Right. Do you ever get into why something should be done? If you're, for example, using your example of finding the partner of your dreams, um, do you ever explain why is it important to make your list of the characteristics or attributes that you're looking for?
Yeah, I think any time that the client might be inclined to say, well, why am I doing this? Do I really need this step? Well, I might already understand how to do this. Yeah, anytime the client might be inclined to skip a step, then you do want to include that explanation of why this is important and necessary. If you're doing something like, say, the above mentioned merfolk tales thing,
Mhm.
people already understand why each step is necessary because otherwise the merfolk tale is going to fall apart. But
Right.
if the client might question why any given step is necessary, definitely do explain it.
I like that. And then how long would somebody expect to take to get from idea to um, actionable program that they could make available to somebody?
It depends on a few factors, like how much of it they want to outline first. If you're really good at ad libbing and you know your material really well, you could potentially get away with kind of just a outline, like just a list of teaching points, and then you get on a call with your clients and you just talk off those teaching points and have a conversation with them based on that and help them to understand what they need to do next, why, and how to do it. If you're making, say, a pre-recorded program with a lot more slides,
Okay.
that's going to obviously take longer. So yeah, a person could potentially like I've gotten on calls with my clients where they had just a few bullet points and I helped them to turn those bullet points into a fully fleshed out content outline in just 60 to 90 minutes.
Wow.
So yeah, if they really theoretically a person could write that bullet list and get on a call with me and get the whole content outline of their coaching program done that day. Of
So it's not something
course,
that's going to take 6, 8 months to put everything together.
yeah, and it also depends how much you want to master it for yourself. Like I do have actually a 20-week program where people can actually learn to master all these steps themselves instead of have me do it for them, and that way they can do it at will. And this includes the whole shebang from doing the market research to making the content and pricing it and figuring out the marketing message for it and figuring out how to deliver it. So that's still like the entire process, whereas just creating the content for it could potentially take as little as a day.
Right.
But that the program you can potentially go through it faster than 20 weeks. I just wanted to break it down into such bite-sized steps that people could actually fit it into their schedule, even if they're busy.
Right. Yeah. And especially if somebody is um, working a 9 to 5 and they want to create the side hustle. Um, I come across people periodically that their their side hustle ends up making more money than their 9 to 5, and so that's one of the things that I think is available. And for those of us who were raised with the rule that I'm putting in air quotes, the rule that to have safety, to have a a job that is respectable or whatever, um, that it has to look like you go to a place and somebody pays you and they give you a W-2 at the end of the year and all those things. I love the idea that that's not required. That's you can do that absolutely if you want. But I talk to so many people that they're not into it. They're not loving it. They're not I've got one person that, for example, he works for the government, today. He does. Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? But he works for the government. He's only got a few years before retirement, but he's got a side business where he does woodworking. And the woodworking side business makes him over $40,000 a year. And the great thing about that is that's a heck of a cushion. And so if the government job disappears, then a little bit of effort into the side business or even adding a second side business can really change your not just change your life, but it'll change your life satisfaction, the joy that you have in life. And so I would imagine that that's something that you see on a regular basis as well, that when people are engaged in teaching things that they know and are good at, they like it more than going to be an accountant or or a salesperson or something at some business.
Yeah, I've heard from quite a few people who, they were talking about how they were in a job and it was just soul sucking, or even if it wasn't soul sucking, they were not, it wasn't lighting them up. And then they discovered that, sharing this wisdom with people did light them up, and that was what they wanted to do with their life. And sometimes they transitioned in gradually. Sometimes they got some sort of kick from life that they had to build their business and build it well right now. But yeah, they just ended up being able to focus on what they're passionate about the topic they're passionate about, and on seeing, other people's lives get better because they shared what they're passionate about.
I love that. So the last question I think I have, I'm just curious, how did you get started doing this?
It actually started with me being a novelist. I wrote my first full-length novel when I was 12 years old. It was a terrible novel. And Mom told me, don't delete it. You'll regret it. No, no, it's so bad. I'll never want to see it again. Mom was right. I should not have deleted it. But
Uh,
I've gone on to write 14 novels, four of which were good enough by adult media standards to self-publish. The rest are teenage practice. And so that actually was led me to starting to work with coaches, because when Mom became a coach, she brought me with her to a lot of training seminars and conferences and such, so I could learn how to use my fiction writing skills for nonfiction, business writing. So I
right.
started training under people like Brendan Normand, Callan Rush, Ted McGrath, learning how to market. And I soon found that a lot of the coaches I was meeting, they were amazing people, and I just fell in love with them. They were trying to be their best selves, live their best lives, make the world a better place, help other people to do the same. I got really excited about the ripple effect we could create, but they weren't so good at communicating and connecting with people. They'd say stuff like, "I'll help you shift your paradigms." Okay, with your training, you immediately understand how that's going to make their lives better. If someone isn't that familiar with paradigms or doesn't even know they have paradigms, they're not
Right.
going to find that convincing. So I kind of became the universal translator from Star Trek, translating their jargony coach speak into layman's terms. Okay, here are the actual results you're going to help them create. Here are the problems you solve that they actually care about. And over time, that progressed to me wanting to help coaches draw out more of their content to draw out more of their wisdom. As a client of coaches, I saw what they did right, what they did wrong, who changed my life, who left me pulling my hair out and feeling ripped off. So yeah, now I use my years of novel writing experience, taking a huge amount of information and breaking it down into an easy to follow flow, my experience writing for coaches and understanding what they have to offer and how to explain it clearly, my experience as a client of coaches, seeing what went right wrong, what people could do better, what people need to avoid. And I put that all together into helping coaches and aspiring coaches to turn their expertise into coaching or training programs, or hybrids of both. You can do a hybrid where a lot of the information is conveyed via pre-recorded materials, and then you get on coaching calls with people to help them customize and personalize their use of it.
Right. I love that. I love that you are not only a theoretical expert, you're a practical expert. You've done it and helped people do the same thing. And I would imagine it's rewarding as well to see somebody uh, who is able to take something that they thought was just part of life and turn it into something that can be substantial and help other people as well.
Yeah, and it's especially satisfying when someone's been working on their coaching program for weeks or months, and then I just get on the call with them and they get it done in like 60 to 90 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got to be rewarding. So if somebody is in that situation where they are realizing that, hey, this is something that I really would like to explore more, what's the best way for them to connect with you to get that PDF that you were talking about?
Okay, so my contact page, it's coachclientconnection.com/contact. So there you can find a way to email me. You can get my Calendly if you want to book a call. You can get my social media profile. So you can pick whichever method you're most comfortable with to contact me. And of course, I believe the link to the PDF will be in the show notes, correct?
Absolutely. We'll put that in the show notes as well.
So yeah, if you want to determine whether your expertise is something that's in demand, that people need, that people will pay for, please feel free to go to that link and download that PDF. It's free to download.
I love it. Thank you so much for taking time to talk about, especially in the environment that we're in right now, where there's a lot of apprehension about what's coming. And this is a way that we can arm ourselves against whatever might happen. So I love the approach that you've taken and the way that you have the ability to help people take their skill set and help other people benefit.
Thank you very much. I'm really happy to share this, and especially at a time when it's going to be so needed for so many people who are looking to replace their incomes.
Yeah, it's so important, and if nothing else, it gives people an opportunity to expand their ideas, their awareness of what's possible. It doesn't have to be the 9 to 5. It doesn't have to be the job that mom said you should take. And so thanks so much, Stephanie, for spending some time with us. And we will see you next week. Thanks for listening.
You're very welcome.
Get back to the work you love, where you face less stress, gain more happiness, and live into your purpose. Let me help you become unstuck and unstoppable so you can finally have the life you want. Head over to my website to connect with me at kenwilliamscoaching.com.